Aloha and welcome back to the divisional round opponent preview of the Ohana Packers Edition podcast, the podcast where two dudes from halfway across the country talk everything green and gold. I'm Mike, and that's Iowa Joe. Joe, Packers are playing into the second weekend of the playoffs. How are you doing tonight?
Well, I'm still. First off, I'm still in disbelief that they actually won the way they did. And two, I'm going into this game again feeling like I went into the last game where I just, you hope for the best, but it doesn't seem like it's a bright future, if that's how you want to call it. I did say after last week that Love has the chance to do the funniest thing in the world and do something that Rodgers couldn't do, and that's beat the 49ers in the playoffs. But the I think I know they've had a lot of tests throughout the season, but this is like boss battle type test for them this week. They've not played a team like San Francisco yet this year. I mean, yeah, they've played good teams, Detroit and guys like that, but at Kansas City and you know, really, and the Cowboys this past week. But really, when you look at San Francisco, there's not really glaring weaknesses. I know that outside of their left tackle, there's not much of an offensive line, but they've been able to make it work because they have the weapons to get out of it. They've got a Christian McCaffrey, they've got a Debo Samuels, they've got George Kittle. You you can go up and down their list, and they have pretty good players all along the way. Same way on defense, they keep bringing in more and more guys on that defense. And it as much as I would love to see them do it, I can't be optimistic for this week. And so far, it's worked well for us. That me being pessimistic, they've really proved me wrong. But I don't know. I don't see it happening this week.
Yeah, like while there were pretty tangible paths to a victory last week, this week, Westendorf and I were talking about, and he kind of brought it up on
How many times
the
have I
pick
told you
six.
don't talk to that guy? He's bad for you.
But he kind of mentioned on pick six that the path to victory on this week against the 49ers, it feels like you're walking on a rickety path with 1,000-foot cliff drops on either side of you, and that path is teetering under your feet. So it's
So
a
they're in Hawaii?
not on the island I'm on. Well, not on any of the hikes you should go on. Don't raise my taxpayer costs, god damn it. But um no, like we'll start with our usual. We'll do our Packer update. So the Packers had a projected practice on Tuesday, and then they did their actual practice on Wednesday. No real surprises there. Jair, AJ Dillon, and Kingsley Inagbare were all out today. LaFleur did mention that they're more hopeful than not about Jair. Didn't really talk about AJ, and I'm not really gonna hold out hope on Kingsley because I feel like every time I do on someone with what's expected to be an ACL, right after I tweet something about like, oh, they haven't said anything yet, that's the moment that put on IR. So I get the feeling it's one of those where they kind of know what it is. They just can't confirm it because the knee is too swollen to get a clear MRI or something like that. But I expect that he'll be
And
out. LaFleur basically said that Cox is next man up. And then they've got Keyshawn Banks and their international guy, Kenneth Odumegu, on the practice squad, who I assume Banks will get called up. But, I mean, a lot of people have been banging the Cox train, and it gets to roll into town this week and get to
my
see what it
God, did
is.
you phrase that completely horrible to your 12-year-old mind? But I want to kind of touch on, and then I'm not going to touch on Cox. No, that's not going to happen. I do
Just
want
wait.
to,
Just,
um, I was listening to Lombardi's Bar earlier, like I normally do on Wednesday nights. Go check them out, even though they don't like s- talk about us too much. We will talk about them a little bit, but I take that back. I got to give Dan credit on a recent podcast that he was a guest on. He talked about my defensive coordinator article. So I gotta. I He said it was good, and he was saying good things about it, and it kind of made me feel dirty that he was saying nice things about my stuff. But anyway, I digress. They had Monty and Tyler Herrick on, and all of them seemed to say that they didn't know when Enigbari what got hurt. But I tend to I thought I saw where it happened. He was like coming around the edge, and then all of a sudden he just like started hopping and went
Yeah,
down.
and that being the case, that's not a good sign. Like the player I was actually looking for is because Herman mentioned that Quay looked like came up limp a little bit on a drive, and what I think it was is I think he cramped up because he kind of went down on a tackle, held his leg, and then stayed in the rest of the drive, and then they took him out. But today he's the last 2 days he's only been listed with the shoulder, so I think he got out in the clear. And yeah, if that's where JJ got hurt, it's more than likely a non-contact knee injury, which means that it's the dreaded ACL. So
Well, and it doesn't help that if they're saying that the area is too swollen for an MRI, there is some kind of damage in there.
yeah, yeah, they haven't said that, but that's what I'm assuming. Where they're like on late Sunday and early Monday, all you heard was they had Pelissero and Rappaport were saying uh, the fear is that it's a torn ACL for JJ. We
Well,
haven't
and
heard anything
LaFleur
yet.
said that it
Yeah,
wasn't good for him. So
yeah, it's very unlikely that it's not the worst case scenario for him. So you just hope that it's a clean tear and that the operation eventually, whenever they do have it, goes well.
now you know a little bit
Otherwise,
more about him pre-draft. How many has he had in his career?
um, I know he had. I don't think he tore his ACL before, but I know he had a knee injury before. I'd have to look into what kind of knee injury it was, but I think it kind of does help that he was never a like super athlete. That he always was a guy who got by on technique, strength, and guile more than anything else. So you'd like to think that he comes back. Obviously, if he has a big drop off in athleticism, that's not great for him. But I'd like to think that he'll be able to come back pretty decently from this one because his game was never built on being way wicked athletic compared to the guy across
He
from. He
used
was
more
more,
strength than any kind of speed or
yeah, and
anything
effort.
for him.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
just an absolute bummer because he was a guy I really liked coming out of the draft last season. So hope it's a quick and clean recovery for him. But the rest of the roster looks like they got out relatively well from Dallas. Bunch of guys on the limited participant, but the main thing is that, like I said, only Kingsley, Jair, and Dylan were listed as DNPs. Everybody else was a limited, and then the one full participant was Quay. So Green Bay is going in as healthy as they're gonna be. Something we will get into for the defensive players is they did play, and obviously I know they put in the deep bench at certain points, but that unit did play 90 snaps, and the Niners are not necessarily the team that you want to face coming off of that many snaps. Just for reference, the average number of snaps either an offense or a defense is expected to play in a regular game is 65 snaps a game. So they basically played a game and a half worth of snaps. So we'll see how that plays out for them. It's a short week. You're going, you're flying back from Dallas to Green Bay, then you're going cross country. I know LaFleur kind of thought about maybe going out to California earlier in the week, but he said they shot that down relatively quick. So um, we'll see where they go. But I mean, this is it. It's put up or shut up time. The 49ers, well, they're not coming to the Packers are flying out to Santa Clara to face the Niners at Levi Stadium, a venue that has been a house of horrors for them, other than during the COVID season when half their important players were injured that game. But it's gonna be tough sledding for the Packers. They're gonna be roaring upstream. Um, by every traditional and advanced statistics, the Niners are they're a great team. They should be the favorite in the NFC, and kind of depending on how you feel about them matching up against different teams from the AFC, they're either going to be the favorite or they're not going to be a huge betting dog or anything when they face off if they make it to the Super Bowl. So, by DVOA, this is the second best team in the league, first on offense, fourth on defense, and surprisingly, they're in our neck of the woods on special teams at 25th. But they're like you kind of mentioned in your intro. This is a team that Green Bay hasn't faced in terms of their style of play on offense. They want to play bully ball, and the closest Green Bay has kind of seen that is what Detroit did to us in Week 4 on that Thursday night game, where Detroit just smacked Green Bay in the face, and the Packers couldn't fight back until it was too little, too late. So, the Niners, Green Bay just faced the highest scoring offense in the league last week, facing Dallas, and now they're going to face the second highest scoring offense in the league. San Fran is first in yards per game, just a shade under 400. Third in rush yards per game, fourth in pass yards per game, but first in yards per pass. So I laugh because it's one of those, I don't really know what Barry's going to do this week. The ultimate irony is that he did have success relatively against this San Fran team and scheme back in 2021. Gave up, what was that, like 34 points across 2 games to the San Fran offense. Granted, they have
I just know that the one game was the playoff game where
the so
only
it was
way they
13 to
scored
10.
Yeah.
So 6 points from there, and then they scored 28 in San Fran when we played them in Week 3 or whatever it was. So 34 points across 2 games. The two obvious differences that are going to make a big difference are they've got a better quarterback and a much better running back situation than they did when we played them. So you can't hemorrhage rush yards. We've seen that happen in the NFC Championship game back after the 2019 season. And then the thing that's just ate this Packers defense alive at too many times this season is what are they going to do in the middle of the field? And, Shanahan, he is so good at scheming up opportunities where against zone heavy teams, he likes to create route combinations that clear, you call them clear out routes where you run an offensive player through a zone to take that defender away, and then you run a second guy through it to take advantage of that opening. And so Barry's going to have to do exactly what we don't expect him to do and come up with something new to throw a wrench into that machine. I don't want to say it comes down to hope, but, one of Green Bay's big things is they've played a game where they looked, I can't say that it was much of what Barry did necessarily on Sunday as much as the guys played hard and they made a lot of plays. You're kind of hoping Green Bay can replicate some of that, and that San Fran comes out rusty because you look at, they did the whole super successful team thing where they rested all their key guys in week 18, had the bye, and now so a lot of their guys are coming off of 2 weeks, and I think some guys even sat out their week 17 game. So they've got some guys who haven't played a game in nearly a month at this point. So, you don't want to build a game strategy off of hope, but I mean, for a team that's, Green Bay opened as a 10-point dog, they're looking for anything that they can get their hands on. So, and like you mentioned, and I have in the notes here, Trent Williams is dominant, elite, going to be a Hall of Famer, but I couldn't tell you the names of the rest of their 4 offensive linemen. And that you've seen them struggle at is when you can, I don't want to say stop their run game. They have a very good run game. They integrate, Christian McCaffrey is healthy and explosive. Well, he's on the injury report, so we'll see how healthy he is. But I expect him to be pretty healthy coming off of 2 weeks rest. And then, they can always integrate Debo into the run game. They use a lot of the same motions that Green Bay does. Kyle Juszczyk is still one of the best fullbacks in the game, and Kittle is one of the nightmare blocking matchups for any edge defender. So not a lot of avenues to success, but other than just have to out execute and outplay them. But Joe, anything other than being anything for this Green Bay defense to be more than a speed bump on Saturday?
Good Lord, I couldn't tell you half these guys. You got Trent Williams at left tackle, Aaron Banks at left guard, Jake Brindle at center, Spencer Burford at right guard, and Colin McKivitz at right tackle.
I
They
think
don't
I've heard
sound
of
familiar.
Brindle because he's been around for a while, but the other three I have no clue how or when San Fran acquired him. But I mean,
I'd have
and
to.
like I said, you've seen, I know it became a laugher, but early in that Eagles game, that Philly was stymieing San Fran early in that game because the other four guys couldn't block the rest of that Philly front, and then San Fran got one first down, and then the snowball just turned into an avalanche. So that's where losing Kingsley hurts because they like to hockey line change their edges. Maybe this is the week they call. Like I said, you assume Keyshawn Banks is going to get called up. Maybe this is the week that you bring up Jonathan Ford or Chris Slayton to beef up the interior defensive line. But I I think it's going to be a matter of just holding on for dear life on defense. And it's going to be on the other side of the ball that if Green Bay is going to have any chance that, you're just, as Ross Uglum kind of tweets jokingly during a Green Bay Packers game with Barry as the coordinator, he goes, you might have a couple more stops. And then, later in the game, he's like, okay, you're probably out of stops. You need to score a lot more now. So that's I don't know how many stops the Packers are going to have. You're going to have to count holding the 49ers to field goals as a stop. But
Okay, I've
yeah.
got it. I know what Joe Barry needs to do. So, Joe, I'm gonna call you Joe. From one Joe to another, Joe. This is what you got to do. So you've got two bull rushing fiends in your edge rusher core, and one of them you've been putting his hand in the dirt a lot lately, and he's had a ton of success doing it. You know the left side is going to be pretty well locked down. So, you can throw Preston over there, you can throw Brenton Cox over there, whatever. Just, let him deal with it. But then on the other side, when you got guys that we don't even know who the hell they are, you put Lucas Van Ness with his hand in the dirt and Rashawn Gary right beside him standing up. They're going to collapse the pocket no matter what. There's no way they're going to be able to stop that.
You got to get to passing downs, but anytime that they do, they're going to have to get creative because that's the thing with Purdy. And I know you know him even better than I do, but I joke all the time that somewhere in there, Iowa State Purdy is still in there. So,
I mean, it's and I don't know him great just because he is from the other, the little brother of the state. But I think everybody's kind of surprised at what he's doing right now, just because I don't think they really saw that in college. But again,
there's a
I'm
reason
going
he
to
was
say,
Mr. Irrelevant.
yeah, I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to be honest. The only time that I really watched him was when he would play against Iowa.
Yeah.
But I honestly have to believe because of the weapons around him is what's helping him more often than not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. He's doing better than, a lot of other guys in that situation. Who knows what Justin Fields would be doing with the same weapons that Purdy has. Or, go back a few years like Blake Bortles or Blaine Gabbert or guys like that, how they would do if they had the setup that Purdy has right now. But I just how do I want to put this using he's out kicking his coverage right now. There is going to be, and we've seen that happen where he has those come back to earth moments.
but his
You
coverage
know,
is really good with those between McCaffrey,
yeah,
Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle. That's a lot of coverage for a guy. And like I said, Shanahan does a lot of good for him where it's like it's a tunnel screen here, it's a tight end screen there. Throw it to McCaffrey in the flat after everyone's been run off by your two receivers and stuff like that.
yeah.
And then a wild Jawan Jennings appears out of nowhere and just catches a key third down pass for you or something like that. But it's gonna be about San Fran is gonna get theirs. Don't be disappointed in that, especially against this Packers defense under Barry. And it's just about when you get your opportunities to get them off the field, you got to get them off the field. Can't be allowing them to convert 3rd and 15 plus. You can't be blowing 1st and 30 if you get them into a dumb situation like that. You gotta stem the tide. You gotta turn them back whenever you have the
Good
chance.
Lord, they got Chris Conley on the team. This is insert Obi-Wan Kenobi meme. Now that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
No, they've done a decent job of just collecting and assimilating names that a lot of people will recognize. Some on offense, but mostly on defense, which we'll get to in a sec. But yeah, like I said, I think we saw the best that the Packers defense is going to give them against Dallas, and I do think Dallas played into a lot of that. We'll see what Barry's able to do. Honestly, my thing, and I know Barry's not going to do it, but I'd rather go down in base defense, getting shot at. If we give up some big pass plays, oh well, but you just can't get slashed to death by this run game. If you're going to play a light box the whole game, you got away with it in Dallas. You're not going to get away with it this week against the 49ers. As much of a, like I said, as much as Trent buoys how that offensive line is looked at, Shanahan is the kind of stubborn and creative to just gash your defense if you're going to try and sit in an undermanned box for the majority of the time. So
Well, and
Barry
like I
can't
said
take
at
that bait.
this,
Yeah.
right, like I said at the beginning of the show, Tony Pollard is no Christian McCaffrey. And that's not a slight against Tony Pollard. I mean, Tony Pollard is a solid running back, but he's not a Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey is a playmaker. He's a
He was
all-around type of playmaker.
he was in MVP talks at one point this season, and I know regular season awards, but like he was earning that much more than the other guy on that offense who's getting talked about as a potential MVP
Right.
candidate.
And
So
that's what
yeah.
I mean. That I think that's helping Purdy out a lot. And you said
Oh
it
yeah.
too, that he's got all these weapons around him that are making up for what maybe he lacks a little bit of. So it is what it is, but like I said this for the Dallas game, pressure. If you
Yep.
can get Purdy out of sync, he's not going to do what he's done all year. I think that was the key that the Ravens did, is they just got him out of rhythm and they just dominated with pressure.
Yep.
And I think that's the way you're going to go. And the Packers have the weapons to do that, to put pressure on him.
Yep.
Hopefully Campbell can play. Hopefully McDuffie can play. Those will be a couple guys that they can sneak in there to add to the pressure. Yeah, Kingsley JJ is out, but they still have Lucas. They still have Rashawn. They still have Preston. They still have the guys that can rotate in there and do what you need them to do. So
Yeah.
just pressure them.
Yep. Yeah. And like I said, when you have your opportunities, don't miss. That's going to be the big thing for defense. And then on the other side, the 49ers defense is an absolute buzzsaw. They give up the third fewest points in the league, just 17 and a half, just over 300 yards per game. The third fewest rush yards per game, but they are giving up the 14th most rush yards or yards per rush, which I think is one of those functions of like teams late in the game trying to just get yards any way they can. They're middle of the pack in terms of pass yards per game allowed, but they are fifth lowest at just under 6 yards per pass. So a lot of that is due to this defensive front. Um, they have just assimilated an army on this defensive front. Nick Bosa is the headliner. He's a tick under what he was last year when he was the Defensive Player of the Year candidate, but he's still dangerous. They added Javon Hargrove this offseason, which is just a stupid free agent ad to pair with Eric Armstead on the interior of their defensive line.
And Clelin Ferrell.
Clelin Ferrell, who has not participated in practice this week, but has become a player for this San Fran front after being a dud for the Raiders, as I think the 4th overall pick in the draft in 2019. They added Chase Young at the trade deadline, and then they got to sign Sebastian Joseph Day off the street after the Chargers cut him late in the season. So, again, and then adding to that, their linebacker level, Fred Warner is the best inside linebacker in the NFL right now. One to watch out for is Dre Greenlaw. He did practice on Wednesday, but he was out on Tuesday with an Achilles issue, so not sure if he'll be limited or hobbled at all, but he and Warner make one of the better inside linebacker pairings. They are very rangy, but also aggressive and physical against the run. So for the second week in the row, it's going to be on this O-line to be able to protect.
And I wasn't paying attention about former Packer Oren Burks, who has really turned things around in San Francisco.
It's fallen off after the first month of the season. It looked great, but after that, it hasn't looked. The sheen has come off of it a bit. But of course, now I've just jinxed it that he's going to make a game-changing play. But
now he's going to come out and be the Packer killer because he's going to want his revenge on him. And they also have Randy Gregory as a backup for the edge rush.
He's toast at this point.
But it's a
it's like a body. We were just talking, I know.
Well, it's not just a body, but it's a rotational piece, like we were just talking for the Packers.
But the big key is if the Packers can protect, this secondary is not very good. I know that I think Ward is their top corner, and he has become a decent quarterback. But after that, they fall off pretty hard. I know Lenore has made a name for himself as their nickel, but he's one of those physical nickels that doesn't move very well.
Actually, that's not how they have it listed in the depth chart.
Oh, did they have him as the corner too?
Yeah, they have Ward as their left corner, Lenore as their right, and Isaiah Oliver as their nickel.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. So, but I know that they have a relatively short string with short rope with Oliver. If he gets toasted early, they'll put like Ambry Thomas in on the perimeter and slide Lenore over to the slot. But that's the thing is like their corners, they play well in that system. They're better than Dallas's corners, but they're still not a top tier defensive back group. They do thrive off of, their plays that need to be made are, like vacuum cleaner plays. There are a lot of cleanup after their defensive front has chewed up and spat out whatever it can't just emulsify on its own. So there's a lot of wayward passes, running plays that get strung out to the sideline. But the big key for the 49ers is Hufanga, their top safety, is out. He's been out for a couple months with a torn ACL. So if the Packers can slow this pass rush down with their run game, and if their O-line can continue to play well and pass protect well, there is an avenue for them to create explosives in the passing game, because the 49ers, like I said, do not have a lot of athletes on the back end. Tashawn Gibson is in his early to mid 30s at this point.
Yeah, I was just looking at it.
And then none of their corners are particularly, none of them are really athletic specimens. So this is a week where, and I caught a lot of feedback on it. I said, I don't think Green Bay is going to win, but I'm just happy that we're going into this one with a quarterback who's not going to go in with a part of the field just crossed off mentally before each play. And some people are like, oh, like, there you go. You have to bring Rodgers into it, blah, blah. But I'm like, you can ignore it all you want, but you go and look to that 2019 NFC Championship game. Oh, but he threw at Sherman. Yeah, when they were down 34-10 or whatever the hell the score was at that point. When the game like was in the balance, everything was to the left. Nothing was to the middle of the field because Rodgers doesn't believe it exists. And and to those people who said, "Oh, it's because he doesn't want to throw hospital balls," that ain't it. Like I could make a really scathing remark about why he doesn't, that he's afraid to, but okay, if you want to, okay, yeah, he's trying to avoid interceptions, yada yada. Okay, and then he's just like, in that game, it was, oh, Richard Sherman's out there. I'm just not even gonna look to that side. So, you know, maybe Love just starts chucking it to the guys in red and gold, but maybe he's able to just I don't want to say shred, but pick apart this secondary at certain points because he's willing to look in any and every direction at any given time of the game. And you know, he's riding high. A lot of things are working for him, and we've said it multiple times. A lot of people have said it multiple times. He's playing with house money at this point. He's playing loose. He's playing free, and as long as they don't let him get murdered by that pass rush, I hope LaFleur just lets it fly whenever he can. Obviously, try to protect him with the run game. It'd be great if they can figure out how to finally get Aaron Jones going against this San Fran defense. But yeah, I think that's the bigger key is like, and in some of the games where they got stuck against San Fran, it's because, in 2019, in both the regular season and the playoff game, they were afraid to push the ball deep until the game didn't matter. The 2020 game, I don't really count because Bosa wasn't there. They had traded DeForest Buckner. I don't even remember if Armstead played in that regular season game. I think Warner was the only defender of consequence. Sherman was hurt and stuff. So, like, Rodgers picked them apart, but he was playing against a depleted defense in that one. And then in the 21 playoff game, what happens? Green Bay goes right down the field, scores on its opening touchdown or its opening drive. Then on their second drive, it looks like they're moving the ball well again. Mercedes Lewis fumbles the ball, and Rodgers just absolutely turtles after that point in the game. And Devontae was almost good enough to carry them past the 49ers. And honestly, with a better special teams, in an average special team unit, Devontae probably does carry the team on his back to victory. But, we've seen these receivers step up every week. To turn it back to something that we talked about in the preseason that you and I both touched on, one of the big questions we had was, is this rookie class going to hit the wall at some point? The irony of that is that whether it's due
They
to
hit the
injuries,
wall early.
yeah, or I think they haven't seen the wall yet because due to injuries, lack of usage in Tucker Kraft's case, until Luke Musgrave's injury, whatever, they've either missed a bunch of games or weren't utilized until the middle or later part of the season, so that they're all still playing about the same number of games they would have played in college anyway, kind of thing. So the rookie wall isn't necessarily going to hit those guys. And shoot, like, Green Bay has nothing to lose. You're already seeing like 49er fans spout out. You saw some of them in like the pick six chat, the Lombardi's bar chat and stuff like that. Okay, sure, fine. You guys are, like I said, you're 10-point favorites to win at home. Green Bay shouldn't cover, but I think they can. Well, do I expect them to? I hope they do. I don't know if they will, but I don't think this team is going to just roll over and die. And honestly, that's all I can ask for at this point. You've gotten, like we said last week, now you're 2 weeks farther into the postseason than we expected this team to get. And like I said before the Dallas game, just go down swinging. I don't care, as long as no one gets hurt, just go down swinging, take your best shot or shots, and let the cards fall where they do when that 60 minutes is up.
Pretty much, and I'm going to say it again. LaFleur needs to go out and do what he did against Dallas. I'm hoping it's a quick strike and, get the points on the board and make San Francisco play from behind, because that'll take away a lot of the things that they will have game planned for.
Yeah, that's gonna be your best run defense is getting up. Saying to get up 2 scores on San Fran is a big ask of this Packers team in this matchup, but I mean, that's gonna be their best run defense is if they can get a multi-score lead on them. And like you said, like we both said, you want to make Iowa State Purdy come out, and the way you do that is you put him in a deficit. I don't know how we're gonna get there, but you gotta try and get there, and that could be the difference between having a chance at winning or just getting run off the field. But
And just don't do what Mark Chmura said to do. Like
I know,
I I don't know where the hell that came from. I but don't do it.
I
That
know.
was
I saw some
dumb.
like 49ers Twitter handles trying to be like, it's bulletin board material. It's like, yeah, we disowned that guy for a while. We honestly disowned that station when the one anchor tried to show up at minicamp and pose as a
Yeah.
like Jets fan or whatever, and no one cared. Like it's like that was the equivalent of the scene from Jurassic Park when Nedry's like Dodson's here. No one cares. Like yeah, uh, it's whatever. Play between the white lines, play to the whistle, but yeah, don't go into any of that extracurriculars. Just put your best shot up. And you know what? As stupid as this sounds, I know how bad this team can be. I don't know how good this team necessarily can be. You
Yeah,
know,
no kidding.
like I know that sounds like a foolish thing to say from opposing fans and be like, oh, there you go, being overly optimistic. I don't expect Green Bay to win, but if Love is going to be the best quarterback remaining in the playoffs, I don't know what the ceiling is for this team. I do think it's handicapped heavily by whatever this defense is going to do or not going to do. And you're still leaning on a first year starting quarterback with, 6 out of his top 8 receiving options are 6 out of his top 9 receiving options are rookies, but they're all young, athletic, explosive, relatively healthy as they're gonna be. You know, the 04 Red Sox going into their games when they were down 3-0 against the Yankees, their one of their catchphrases was "Why not us?" And that should be the attitude that this Packers team has. You've been the favorite under LaFleur, and it hasn't worked out. So go be the underdog. And as the coach you just wiped the floor with last week in Dallas said back in 2010, we are nobody's underdog. Just have that attitude and just lay it all on the field, and whatever happens at the end happens at the end.
Yeah, I mean, that's about all you can do about it. And I think if you're even 75%, maybe even 65%, you play no matter what.
Yeah,
I mean, I know you don't want to risk a career type injury or a severe injury or anything like that, but at this point, you need all hands on deck.
yeah,
And I I know they're doing what they can with Jair to get him out there. It sounds like it just kind of re-aggravated that sprain, and they're running through the same procedure
yeah.
that they did before the Cowboy game. But
Definitely sucks that the game is on Saturday this week, but can't. No one's gonna care that you're crying at this point. So, just got to do the best with what you got to do, and just see where, like I said, just see where the cards lie at the end. But
and I wonder if it was more of a cramp than it was actual a re-sprain, because you look everything that I read and heard that he was walking around, normally. So
as much
you
as we
know,
could see, like I know he did the camera op at the end for the team's social media, and it didn't seem like he was walking with an enormous limp or anything like that. So, and the way he went down, I rewatched that play several times. It didn't look like he rolled the ankle at all. So yeah, it's
it just
hard
looked
to
like he
say.
took a
Yeah,
bad step.
yeah,
Because when initially the way he acted, I thought the worst.
yeah.
You
I
know,
thought he tore his Achilles tendon or something. Like I thought he had a
yeah,
soft tissue injury, not like the ankle. So yeah,
but so I guess starting off, that will be the first yes no. Does Jair play? And I'm going to obviously say yes because, like I said, even if you're only at 65%, we need all hands on deck at this point.
Yeah, I think obviously we're recording this on Wednesday night, but I think this is one that you try, and obviously you hope he can play the whole game, but he's gonna try it out the first series, and if it doesn't go, I appreciate that he tried, but I think they're gonna get at least a good half out of Jair. And the thing you just gotta worry about is San Fran is probably gonna run at him kind of thing and stuff. So it'll be interesting, that part of the chess game and all that kind of stuff too. So we'll see how that all plays itself out.
I don't have this one wrote down, but I'm going to do this because it's Mike Kawano, the number one fan. Does Darnell Savage have back-to-back amazing games?
I'm gonna say yes. You know what? We're going down. Like I said, we're going down, swinging with the ship. I know this isn't a matchup, whether it's the 49ers and their power run game, or if Savage has to cover Kittle. But screw it. I'm pushing my chips into the center of the table because they're gonna need it if they're gonna pull this one off. So why not?
I I don't have an answer for it. I just want to see him do something. I just wanted to see what if we could get another.
Go earn your extension, Darnell. Be a Packer for the next 4 years.
But so I guess over under wise, there's simple ones because really, who knows what the hell's going to happen? I set them so low last week, and it turned out that I was way off on all of them just because of how they played. So I just came up with some off the wall ones. But so the first one I got is Jordan Love, 225.5 yards passing.
I'm going over, and because okay, my point of reference is Rodgers had 326 in that 2019 game. I hope 200. I hope the over matters, but I think he's going to get it one way or the other. They're going to throw the ball. I don't want to say a bunch because obviously if they can get Jones going, they're going to run it as much as they can. But I think he's going to have like 250 at least.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take the over just a little bit because really, even against in the Dallas game, he only went 276. So if they can get Jones and the run game going, I think there might even be some like, and I know people are going to cringe when they hear it, but I think you're going to see a little bit more of the end around trick play type stuff. So it might eat into his passing yards just a little bit, but I'll take the over, just barely over though. So Aaron Jones, 65.5 yards. We're at week, what, 4 of 100-yard rushing games for Jones. So what do you think? Is he going to go for another one, or is it due for him to have a bad one?
I don't know if he'll get 100, but I think he'll go over 65 and a half. They're going to need him to.
Strangely, I'm going to go under and just slightly because I really think Dylan is going to do his best to play, and I think they're going to throw him out there. I think they're going to throw Emmanuel Wilson out there because they're towards the end of the game when he was just getting garbage time snaps. He started to warm up a little bit. So I think it'll lead into the Aaron Jones. And again, I think there'll be some like end around type things where maybe Jaden Reed gets some rushing yards, so it'll eat into it a little bit. So I'm gonna go under, but just like barely under. I think it'll be like he'll be at 65 yards. And then my last one is 2.5 sacks by the defense. The
I say
Packers
over.
defense.
I think they're going to get over that.
I'm gonna go for it. So far, all of Lucas Van Ness's sacks have come against, big time quote unquote uh playmakers. He's got 2 on Fields, he's got 1 on Mahomes, he's got 1 on Dak. What's the other one he's got? Because he had 4 during the regular season, didn't he?
Yeah.
2 on Fields. one on Mahomes, and what's the last one?
Yeah, why am I blanking on this too?
Oh, what's the last one? Damn it, brain work.
Oh, he got Baker.
Baker. And then this last week he got Dak. So
That was a hell of a sack that he got on.
Yeah, I saw the all 22 of somebody did a breakdown on it where he basically did like a 360 against the tackle and came up on
He was like
Dak.
4 inches off the ground on that one.
Yeah. So Hawkeye pride, we're going to take down that damn Cyclone, and Lucas Van Ness is going to eat and eat and eat.
Do it.
He's going to get 3 himself.
Do it.
Just for the Hawkeye State. That's why it's called the Hawkeye State. It's not the Cyclone State. It's the Hawkeye State.
I'm all for it. Yeah, hopefully
Don't
he'll get
for
it.
this, Anthony Johnson Jr. There are 2 teams in Iowa. I don't want you to hate me about this, but Brock Purdy, you can suck it.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool if Johnson got a pick of his former teammate. But I mean, Preston's had some success against Trent Williams before. Rashawn had one of his best games of his career against the 49ers in that 2021 playoff game. So I know that they're not the same players. I think Trent is the only player on that O-line from that 2021 playoff team.
Who knows? Because I don't even know where they came up with these other guys. They could have been like cooking them in a lab for all I know, because I can't recognize a name off of them.
But yeah, like we said, the catchphrase for this week is just go down swinging. Like, don't, like you kind of mentioned for LaFleur, and that would be a big one for LaFleur too, to finally beat Shanahan in a game that matters. Because what is he? He's like 1 for 4 against him, or 2 for 4, or 2 for 3, because he's got the 2020 and the 2021 regular season wins, but he's lost the 2 2019 games and then the 2021 playoff games. So yeah, and they've all been somewhere between blowout to just wet fart.
I don't know.
losses.
I start to blank those out after a while just because of how
But
shitty
yeah,
they were.
I need, it would be a great time for Shanahan to just smoke one of his friends, not McVay, because he always beats McVay.
Not Shanahan. Rewind that. You said Shanahan to smoke one of his.
Oi, LaFleur to smoke one of his friends. Yeah, we already seen that movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Take out Shanahan. Now I could see pulling a Mark Chimura on Shanahan. LaFleur just run over and like flying elbow him in the forehead or something. That would
do it for Gilbert Brown.
Bisaccia go over and like take out his knees or something. I could
do
be for that.
Do it for Gilbert. Do it for Reggie.
Do it for
Santana Dotson.
Yeah. I have to say the one memory I have about, I want to say it was a 49ers game, was Gabe Wilkins. And I want to say it was in a 49ers game where he like recovered a fumble and returned it for a touchdown.
I know he had the one against Tampa where he like picked off a screen or something like that.
Yeah, but he did something against San Francisco, because then like the next season he was on San Francisco. I can't remember it. But I know he did something against San Francisco, and like I said, like the next season, because then the next season they played each other and he was getting in like altercations with the Packers.
Oh God.
But all right, we better put a bow on this because we're already going way off topic.
Yep. So that'll do it. Hopefully we're having another fun podcast on Saturday night, but
Sunday.
We'll see, or Sunday, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see where the Packers are able to stack up on this one. Like we said, it's been a super just gratifying and bountiful season for the Packers. And I really just hope they can keep it going at this point, because you never know how many chances you're going to get. None of us thought that Rodgers would only win the one Super Bowl that he won. I think a lot of people didn't think Brett would only win the one. So you never know how many bites at the apple you're going to get. So you just got to make as much opportunity at it as you can. So that's going to do it for us tonight on the Ohana Packers Edition podcast. You can follow us on our Twitter accounts. I'm at Kawana Mike. Joe is at Iowa_Joe86. Follow the pod at Ohana_Packers. Remember, we are closing in on our drawing. The last I saw, we were like 4 away or something like that.
No,
Once
we're
we hit
like 30,
34 or something.
38.
Yeah,
I think we're at like 192, and we're trying to get to 230.
gotcha. So we're getting close.
Slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely. So you got to be following the Twitter, the podcast Twitter account, not our individual ones, to be eligible to win the drawing. Please check out our website, ohanapackers.org. All our blog posts and all of the streams of our episodes are up on there. Please follow the podcast on your favorite podcasting apps. Give us a like and a subscribe if you're enjoying what you're hearing. And whether it's positive or negative, we enjoy your feedback in the comments, because we want to give you the content that you're looking for. The Packers go in, like I said, I guess now they're 9.5 dogs going into Santa Clara. Nothing to lose, only upward momentum is possible at this point. So lay it all on the line and just see where the cards lie at the end of the day. That's Iowa Joe. I'm Mike Kawano. We want to say go Pack Go and aloha.